Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So my speech will be started in 3, 2, 1. So based on physiological factors, children's ability are supported by the support of the surrounding environment. One of them is the school environment. It can be noted that the school environment is a place for children's growth and development because children spend more time at school than at home. The school environment plays a role in growth and development and highlights child potential. Grouping classes based on age is not to unite a child with their peers. It can actually stagnate a child's abilities. It could be too fast or it could be too slow. So before that, let me mention the meaning of potential and academics. Potential is a basic ability possessed by humans that is very likely to be developed. So that in a sense the potential itself means an ability that can still be developed even better. Meanwhile, academics are abilities obtained from educational matters. So it can be concluded that academic potential means the abilities that a child develops in the world of education. Grouping is usually done by considering the assumption that students will develop optimally if they are given an environment with the same academic abilities. This is reinforced by another assumption that students with high potential will compete with each other. This competition is positive to stimulate achievement. Likewise, students with low academic ability will develop according to their potential. Another consideration is the right of every student to get the best service at school. Grouping is a way to provide the best service for students. According to physiology, a child can grow and develop more in an environment that is equal to their mind. We mean that thoughts that are in line with the child's thoughts can guide a child in exploring their own potential. A child can grow and develop more based on several other factors, one of which is an environment that is equivalent to them in ability. However, nowadays, as we know, children of primary and secondary school years are grouped according to their age. Even though many children can adjust to themselves regardless of age, so can adult who have limited ability to understand things. Some words we know these are: it's never too late to learn something. This certainly can hinder the increase in the level of a child who has better abilities and intelligence. Likewise, with a child who attends a class only because he is in the same age as the children in that class, this can actually hinder a child's thinking ability and doesn't guarantee the child's own ability. Therefore, we are, as a government team, have a stance that this house will abolish the primary and secondary school years, which classify children by age and classify them based on competency and intelligence. So now let's move on to statements which emphasize our arguments with this motion. So the first statement is, with a grouping based on ability and intelligence, children with more abilities cannot actually develop further. Behind this assumption is the view that class heterogeneity. Students with high academic potential are mixed with students with low academic potential, causing those with high academic potential not to develop optimally because the teacher will provide services that can also be understood by students with low potential. It's clear from the view that schools that implement student grouping based on the academic ability make it easier for the teachers to carry out learning that is appropriate to students' context. For smart student or for the student with a high level of intelligence and competence, the teacher conduct learning with a higher standard of for other classes. The teacher will do it with a different method according to the characteristics of the students. Likewise, children with low abilities are better able to adapt themselves to the same environment. In a class, there is definitely competition, both in classes with high ability and intelligence and vice versa. A student will definitely have a sense of competitiveness to place themselves in the best positions. Second statement is, learning becomes more focused because the teacher will follow how well a student understands. Focus here means the teachers can organize learning at relatively the same level of difficulty. There is no difficulty in choosing learning methods, and the assessment process or learning evaluation is relatively easier. So they can be sure that every child in the class can move on to higher material with a good understanding of the previous the previous material. In this grouping system, the unique intelligence of students is valued more. The system can reduce skewed views about student intelligence. There is no intelligence that is superior or primary to other intelligences. For example, mathematical intelligence has been considered more important than other intelligences. With the system, students can learn according to their own intelligence. Don't force themselves to master many things that don't suit actually with their intelligence capability. With this grouping, a student or child can also find out about their own development so they can adjust their targets in the future. Okay, so for the next statement is schools can better understand a child's potential and learning style. Every human being has their own way of understanding new information or knowledge. This is known as a learning style. It's hoped that the school can better facilitate a child according to their learning style. This is in line with what Professor Hornby said, explaining that grouping placed based on academic ability has the benefit of meeting students' educational needs, increasing student achievement, and by grouping student teachers can make maximum use of learning facilities. Okay, so for the next statement is age is not a barrier in studying. Age is also not a measure of the ability and intelligence of students. There is a lot of contrary evidence in the real world which show that a child can be more capable or skilled in education than other children who are older than them. Alright, logically, people with the same age in the same classes don't necessarily have the same academic abilities and vice versa. So by dividing classes based on academic standards, learning will be more effective. Just imagine if a teacher enters a class whose students have different academic abilities, then of course not all students will understand the teachers what the teacher is teaching. This will be different if the teacher teaches in a class containing students who have the same academic potential. Then it is almost certain that all students will understand what the teacher is teaching. A program that we know as an acceleration program is an educational service program that suits the potential intelligence and special talents of students by providing the opportunity to complete the program in a shorter time. For example, a high school children can complete the education in just 2 years. Acceleration is held to fulfill the needs of students, so the good characteristics can be formed in the terms of affection and cognition. Ideally, acceleration activities can enable teachers to fulfill their rights to fulfill human rights for all students based on the learning needs that will be required. The program is also intended for an increase in the intellectual aspects and long-term paradigm of students. So therefore, by looking at our previous arguments and statements, we certainly call this motion an effective solution and needs to be implemented. Once again, we say we believe in this motion that this house would abolish primary and middle school years that group children based on age and instead group them by competency and intelligence. So that's all wish that the world of education would be able to develop more with a grouping system like this.